Oh yeah, the toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
Just hoarding all the toilet paper.
Wow, people must go through a lot of toilet paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Angela.
This is Katelyn.
Hi, I'm Sanjana, and you're listening to. I knew I was gonna do it. I always do it like that. And you're listening. And this is Earthlistening, off air.
So today we are here to have a recap of 2020, considering that it is almost the end of the year. And so we decided that it's best to have a recap of 2020 and sum it up because 2020 has been a very eventful year. A lot has happened. You could argue, arguably good or bad. And yeah, so why don't we just go around talking about our own reflections of 2020? Like, what are our own thoughts, the good and the bad of 2020?
Okay, so there was no good in my opinion.
Wow. Okay, that's very straightforward.
Wow.
I mean, in the beginning, I felt like it was good. Like for us, most of us realized that we don't have to take the SAT, even if we want to. Like, kind of just don't have the option. So, like, even though all that work I put in, it's like a waste now. But I'm like, who cares? It's the past. The future is bright. I don't like submitting stuff online. I don't like it at all. Like, even though people are like, oh my gosh, you can use your notes and all this stuff, I'm like, that's not helping you. Like, I wish like we didn't have to like take pictures of our work for math because it's just a hassle. Like uploading. Like one time I airdrop all of my stuff onto my laptop, and one time my airdrop didn't show up, and I was like, I just panicked. And like those technical issues, teachers won't believe us sometimes, and it's just really annoying. Second of all, COVID, that just explains itself. And then, I mean, yeah, like Black Lives Matter was a big thing. I feel like, especially in my household, like my parents don't talk about it just because, you know, we're immigrants, and I don't know, even though like my parents are citizens, they just feel uncomfortable talking about it. And I feel like it shouldn't be normal. Like we should be able to talk about it. And I've seen a lot of videos on how to talk to my parents about it. But one conversation I had was, you know, obviously even though I'm not Black or African American, I don't personally like the term Black. I like saying like African American a little bit better. So it's just the skin color thing, you know, colorism and all that thing. And, you know, I'm brown. I'm saying myself colors now. So, like, just bringing that whole topic of immigrants was just a lot, like, opened up my perspective a lot more this year because I never really saw it firsthand living in such an Asian community. So, seeing what was happening around the world was eye opening. I guess that's a positive. No, it's not positive at all. I should have had to see that.
I mean, I would always say like arguably there's always the good and the bad. So despite 2020 being majority like bad events have happened, I mean on the flip side it does bring an eye opening of like this is the reality. We have a very flawed system, whether it's in America or any other country, and like we need to come to terms to that flaw and like be able to identify it and then solve it in order to have a better society, better systems, you know. And then for me, for 2020, I would say, okay, absolutely for sure, this is definitely the most eventful year. It's an unforgettable year for me. Quarantine has impacted our everyday life, so the change is quite drastic. So I feel like that's a really different experience than I had in the past. We're like, oh, maybe somewhere in the news I hear there's a fire or anything, but like it hasn't directly impacted me. And so right now, seeing like quarantine, how it affected my personal life so much, so significantly, it's very like, wow, like very eye opening. So overall, I would say 2020 for me, it's a year to learn a lot of things. So I would say even though it has some bad moments, it really has taught me a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I totally agree with you how this year, 2020, would be definitely a year to never, like, that's really unforgettable. So for me, I would definitely say that I wasn't really like surprised. Well, I was surprised, but like just like being in like freshman year, that was like just 2 years ago. I didn't think that we would be in a pandemic right now and all
Mm.
these events would be happening. But I feel that it kind of feels like a rebirth, if that makes sense.
Ooh.
So, yeah, like for me, I think that during high school, I wasn't really aware of all these things happening. A lot of events such as the Black Matters movement, a lot of discrimination against like Asians of the COVID. I would definitely say that it actually educated me a bit more about like these ideas and concepts. And definitely with COVID, I feel a bit more like scared and wary. Definitely because like my mom is medical in the medical field and she works with a bunch of patients every single day, especially patients who might possibly be having COVID. So I always have like this deep fear like whenever I go outside, um, you don't feel safe.
Mhm.
So it's just that 2020 is definitely a year that's also dangerous. But at the same time, I feel that since we're quarantined at home and we have school, well, some students have school at home, we have more time to ourselves to kind of learn more about ourselves, like what our passions are, maybe have some more free time to ourselves and have self healing instead of going to school every single day.
Mm.
And I really feel that this is definitely a big benefit towards like our generation. So like with all teenagers in high school, we can like change our lives or just find something new that we want to do during this time. So at the same time, there may be some scary things happening, but we should always look at the positive side.
For me, I think my overall affection is wear a mask. I feel like that's everywhere now. Like, I obviously like I want everybody to follow that. Like one time I was going past a neighborhood and I was like, well, it wasn't personally me, it was my dad, and he was going past and he saw nobody there wearing masks, and there was like 50 plus people all outside, and it just like put into perspective like living in this type of community and you don't realize like there's people out there who like actually break rules. Like that's one of the it's not a side effect really. It's like you can take it both ways, like Angela mentioned. You can see something on the positive outlook and the negative outlook. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, like we live in such a community where you don't see that. You don't see people like necessarily breaking rules. But like I never like thought people would take it such like I don't know how to say it, like carelessly, you know? Look where we are now.
I guess I like agree as well. Like during like COVID, I feel like a lot of people. I'm not sure. Do you guys know that word where you panic and then you suddenly want to like grab all those resources? I can't exactly put my tongue on that specific word, but I remember on the news like during the beginning of like COVID, like a lot of people would panic and like buy a bunch of groceries because they were all scared. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Toilet paper.
Oh yeah, the toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
Just hoarding all the toilet paper.
Wow, people must go through a lot of toilet paper.
Yeah. Okay, I remember Caitlin mentioned when talking about like, TikTok, like how they also spread a lot of information about like mental health. So I feel like mental health is a big issue, or not issue, but topic, especially during 2020, where like we're forced to be quarantined. There's less social interaction with friends. So like overall, how are y'all's mental health going? Like how's it? Any like reflections about that?
It's been a big up and down. You know, I don't. I knew like after going into middle school, like high school, the impact that people have around you, and that was a big thing for me. Like realizing, wow, I changed my friend group, and my grades changed, the way I acted changed, the way I looked at myself changed. But
Mm-hmm.
being at home now, I'm doing like a lot of thinking myself. Like every time I go to the restroom, I'm like thinking a lot more about like how I want to be. Is this truly what I want to do? Um, like, is this like, you know how like people think of true love and all that boring
Mhm.
stuff? I don't believe in that. Like, I know like that's like a lot. I thought like, oh, it's bad to believe in all that stuff. You know, like it's just a fantasy that isn't true. But you know, sometimes I've gotten convinced by Caitlin. Like,
Ooh.
it's okay to feel like hopeful, if that makes sense, because a lot of hope pushes you forward. So I think thinking about happiness and like thinking about, even though it may not come true, which I always, for me, I know that's never going to come true. I feel like it's okay to like think about it that way because, you know, I tried an experiment on myself. Probably not the best reliable source, not very credible if you do it on yourself, but I saw like an improvement, or like I saw a change in my grades when I started like stop being hopeful about like the future and like all the things I want and how I want to see myself and my goals and my accomplishments. And then I started being hopeful and I saw like myself just not placing my pain in like my work, but more in looking at things that are more happy and grateful. And I saw a change. So I was like, wow, science is really coming through. Mental. So like I think by being at home, especially during quarantine, like you're able to place your mind in a place where you're understanding yourself better. And even though like people might say, oh, I didn't work on my mental self, like my mental state during this time, you had to. There was no question. You were so alone that you had to work on your mental state, because if you're sitting here all day, like what are you doing? You're watching YouTube videos, or you're watching Netflix, or you're watching Disney Plus, or you're watching Hulu. Wow, HBO. Wow, there's a lot of TV stations, but you have to like think about yourself during that time, especially when you're going to bed. I feel like a lot of people, as they doze off, they think a lot about themselves. And yeah, so it's a very important time for a lot of people. Like there was this Bollywood actor, I don't know much about this, so not very credible. As you can see, I'm not very credible at anything I say. But I saw this Bollywood actor, apparently he killed himself because he wasn't able to handle being at home. I don't remember the name of the person because I'm not into Bollywood completely. I'm more into Tollywood. But he killed himself, and then later they found it as a murder. Or I'm mixing stories now, but it like put into perspective how badly mental health can impact the way you live your life.
Mhm.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
like about yeah, I definitely see that like definitely mental health like really plays a big part, like physically and mentally. So I definitely would say like for me personally, I kind of like during like the beginning of like like when we started quarantine, I think it was really like okay. Like I think it was like in March going into like the summertime, and like definitely the summertime was like really stressful for me. And
Mhm.
then they like when school started, that's definitely more stress piled onto that. And for me, I definitely think that like how would I say it? My mental health like during that time was like I would say like really bad. Like there were like times where like I kind of like cried like every single night. Like I didn't want to like do this anymore. It always felt like a big cycle every single day. And
Mhm.
then I guess like more things happen, more things led to like I guess like more stress. So I definitely would say that it impacted me like physically and even mentally. And then that kind of also like affected my grades kind of a bit. But I think that like the people that you're like surrounded with do play a big part, like family and friends. They do help you out with those times. I definitely say that like people may not see like mental health as a really big like how do I say not issue but more like a topic. They don't focus on it more, but I really feel that people should look upon it more because it may affect your mindset, and that mindset having all those negative thoughts that can even affect you physically.
Mhm. Yeah, for me, I would say this year started off like just another year. So my mental health was pretty like, normal. Yeah, just normal. And then like what Katelyn said, during the beginning of quarantine, I was actually like pretty happy because like it was just like whoa, like a sudden change. It was really new. And then like I, as a person, I really like when things are like new or different because I don't like the same pace. Like everything's just the same. Like it's like a cycle. I hate that. And then so the first 2 weeks I remember it felt like winter break, but except in the spring. It was like yay, like it was kind of like low key, like pretty chill, and like it was really like new and fun getting to hang out with my parents and just like see them like work at home and like be with them like all day. That was like really nice because all my life growing up, I'm pretty sure all of us, we just like go to school and then spend the entire day at school and then go home and then at nights when we see our parents. So like it was a really nice change of scenery being able to like see our family like really like all day, like in the morning, like in the noon, in the afternoon, all that stuff. But then there did get to a point where it became a little bit too repetitive with the quarantine. I would say probably around like starting beginning of April, mid-April. That was when I kind of like started to like, kind of felt the loneliness starting to like sink in. Like, oh, I'm just stuck in my house every day, and just like doing work, and then it kind of became a cycle. And then like, just to add on to what Caitlin said, definitely junior year this year, there were like sometimes a few weeks where I felt like I just wake up, do work, and then go back to sleep. And like even though it was like a very like long and tiring cycle, the day did go by pretty fast. Like I just feel like I blink when I wake up and then I blink again and then I'm here and it's like it's at night and I'm just about to go to sleep. So I feel like even though the process is very tedious, the day still went by really fast. But then I did felt like it was very lonely. I felt like I was a robot. There was like no emotions. I just like sat here, did work, and then go to sleep, and then eat, and then come back. It was very like it wasn't a fun time. And then like also not being able to see friends. I feel like especially since we're teenagers, we really want like to like be social and all that, and like hang out with friends, but really not having that steady source of socialization. It really like it makes things a little bit harder because even though I'm at home and there's like constantly people in my house, I don't know, I just sometimes feel like a sense of loneliness even though there are people around me. I feel like a lot of people have had that feeling where you have people around you but you just feel a little bit alone.
But yeah, my name is Kasif Simha. And my opinions on COVID-19 and how it kind of reflected my year. I guess it was just a lot harder for me. When it came to like summertime, I do a lot of camping. I do a lot of outdoorsy stuff. I just love doing stuff like that. But obviously, living in LA County during this time, it's kind of impossible to do stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of deprived me of. It feels like I kind of lost the summer in a way because I just love enjoying that stuff and I can't do it anymore. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then just to kind of wrap things up, I feel like definitely a lot of people would agree that 2020 is definitely a depressing year. A lot of terrible things have happened. I'm not gonna name all of it because we probably already know. But just to end off on a positive note, what is one thing either you guys are excited to have in 2021, like something like you're anticipating, something you're waiting, you're hopeful about for the next year, or what is one thing, or another option is what is like one positive thing you learned from 2020?
I'm gonna give two things. Just an extra one in there. One is to finish my ego project. I finished the planning. I did everything I need to do. It's a big, long process, and now I'm at the position where I can finally get my ego project done. And number two is maybe apply for the military academy. I really want to apply for a military academy, so I gotta apply by June. So hopefully it works out. So that's something I'm looking forward to. I wanted us to not kind of do is I want us to change a little bit, and I want us to realize that there are some things that we've been ungrateful for, and 2020 has definitely shown us that. Whether it be not talking to or not visiting your grandma who's across the country, whether it be underestimating and calling in sick for school, whether it be underestimating your teachers who are working really hard, whether it be underestimating the health workers, whether it be underestimating whatever happened, and whatever happened when we were normal, when it was like 2019 normal time, we underestimated and we realized that it's bad. It's really hard to live without that in 2020, and maybe in 2021 we could obviously be grateful for it.
For me, I feel like there is nothing. I know that sounds like a little bit plain. Actually, there's nothing about it that's plain. But it's just like, what do I look forward to? Everything that I've looked forward to got canceled so far. And a lot of things I was looking forward to were all supposed to happen this year, and now they're not happening next year or the year after that. So I'm kind of just in this limbo where I'm like, what do I do now? And the same cycle thing that Angela mentioned, I literally noticed myself doing that. I'm like, I'm not even doing it. I literally get up, literally right before class starts. I sit here. Sometimes I even brush my teeth in one of my classes. And like, it's just the cycle where I'm just sitting here, and then I don't even go downstairs to eat anymore. Like I just one of my siblings or something, my only sibling, just comes up and puts my food next to me, and like just walks back down because like I just feel so invested in my work that I say I'll eat later and I'll eat later, and just later never comes. So I just feel like I'm just sitting here staring at my screen, probably not doing work, it's just like in this whole limbo where like, do I feel something positive from 2020? I feel like being at home is nice at the same time because I can walk downstairs, I can go see my brother, I can go talk to him, I can give him a hug, and like all those type of sibling things. But besides that, I'm stuck up here doing nothing, and I can't go outside because do I have enough time before I'm back for my next class? And then my next class will have a test, and I feel like, oh, I need to quickly flip through my notes to make sure I still remember stuff, and then put away my notes to go take the test. So it's like, what do I do? And then after school's over, you're back here again doing homework. So yeah, this year was just boring. Nothing to do, just a lot of stress.
Honestly, for me, I had the exact opposite kind of feelings that Sanjana kind of talked about. I felt more productive out of this year. Like I said, I feel like the biggest reason being is I discovered the military academy. So I've been training for the ACT test, which is Army Combat Fitness Test. It's called ACT. It's not the SAT ACT test. That's a different test. But I've been training for that. So I've gotten a lot more active. I've interacted with a lot more people, and honestly, this also has given me a good opportunity to kind of get better relationships with my teacher versus how I would interact with them in person. Because I have 2 days, I have like 3 teachers a day, so I could just kind of like easily talk to them. It's much easier for me in that way. And also, it's given me more time to relax and more time to think. Something school was one day, and the next day you have to do the same stuff over and over again. Now I guess there's a little more variety to it. So I guess that's a good thing.
Okay, I would say for me, one thing I've learned from 2020 is like at the end of the day, you really have to rely on yourself. Now with online school, like there's no teachers to like remind you about stuff or like anything like that. Like it's all up to you. It's your responsibility to do your work, to submit it, be able to take responsibility to like take screen breaks, be able to like be on top of things because I've heard like there's some students who become to slack off because of like it's not in-person school. It's like you got to be able to take charge of your life. 2020 is definitely very unexpected. So another part of adaptability is like being able to acknowledge what has happened, like what reality is, and being able to adapt, being able to alter your mindset based on certain circumstances. Bad things happen, good things happen, but being able to adapt to all the different situations is very important. One hope I have for 2021 is that we continue to fight against COVID-19 to develop reliable vaccines for it. Also, like I feel like all the flaws, like I mentioned earlier, that are pointed out in 2020, like police violence, Black Lives Matter, like all these flaws within society can be like addressed and maybe not solved completely in 2021 because change is very gradual, baby steps. But I feel like if we start moving in the right direction, where all voices are heard, we're all treated with equal respect and all that, like take a step in the right direction. I hope 2021 brings about good change.
I would definitely say I was a bit, maybe in a sense, like ungrateful. All of us really saw last year as like we didn't cherish it enough. I think that right now is our time to heal as like a country and to see things in a more positive and optimistic light. Specifically for me, I would be excited for just being able to see my friends in person and make the most of my senior year. And also, I know that we're juniors, so college will be coming up soon. So we have to just live in the present and just cross the bridge when we get there.
Well said, well said.
Yes, very well said. You almost made me so emotional.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today. This was a very interesting recap of 2020. Definitely a lot has happened. We've learned a lot. We've opened our eyes to a lot of different stuff. Very eventful year, unforgettable year. And here's to a better 2021 year. Here's to a new year. Yeah. Okay, thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
And
Bye,
we'll see you
guys.
guys next time. Thanks for listening. Check us out on Instagram at Earthlinking Official. Check out our website on Instagram located in the link in our bio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Earthlinking Team. Donate to our GoFundMe located in the description box below. This is Earthlistening. See you in the next episode.